Hello, you absolute legends.
Should we talk about the absolute legend?
Oh, I think we should. I feel like many things in our lives, our L takes always evolve into the W take.
You see, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. Karl Jobst. I now know it's Jobst. I didn't know that until now. Every time we talked about him, I was like, Jobst?
Yeah,
it's Jobst. Famously, he exposes, he's the fucking, he's a muckraker. He's an expose journalist. He's gonna, if you cheated in speed running, he's gonna get you. The most notorious kind of video game cheater, of course, is Billy Mitchell from the documentary King of Kong. I don't know enough to be like, oh yeah, he's obviously a big tool. He looks like a tool. He's got a silly mullet and he sells hot sauce, you know, whatever. Like, as far as I can tell, he's probably...
He's got the American flag tie and he's always like going like this with the thumbs up. He looks like a tool.
What if he's awesome? Has anybody stopped to consider that?
I don't think it's impossible for him to be awesome.
If I knew nothing else and you were like, he owns the world records in Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, he wears an American flag tie, he sells hot sauce, and he has a mullet, I'd be like, can he come on the podcast and talk to us? But I hear he's a dickhead and he has a big ego and he's litigious, and he sued Karl Jobst some time ago. Yeah, he was the once celebrated world record holder in arcane. You know, he had it was Donkey Kong and Pac-Man, and then infamously Twin Galaxies and Guinness World Records stripped him of those records in 2018 because they did an investigation to him and concluded that he had likely used emulation software, not original game hardware, which of course throws out his scores. He denied it all, of course, and he launches a bunch of defamation lawsuits against anybody who had a viral video kind of like supporting this. So there was a YouTuber named Apollo Legend, real name Ben Smith, and he, like Karl, exposed cheaters in the video game industry. And he had a viral video calling him out, calling Mitchell a fraud. Billy sued him, and they settled at a court, and no money changed hands, and Apollo agreed to delete the videos and never mention him again. That was the settlement. But Apollo Legend never had to pay any money. Then later that same year, Apollo Legend posted a final video alluding to mental health struggles, and then he killed himself, unfortunately. But Billy was not mentioned in this video. So in 2021, the absolute legend comes around, who we've talked about him on, as it relates to the completionist. It was hard during that whole thing to call Karl a douche because Karl was with Muda, was exposing the completionist for, horrible neglect and perhaps even malice. So anytime we went anywhere near like, well, Karl's a cock too. Do you remember, like, people were vicious to us?
Well, yeah, I already remember that Mooney guy. He had a takedown of Karl's and Muda's allegations or whatever, and then he actually backtracked after Karl's fans went after him. But I think he was right, and also like I remember at the time when we were looking at those Karl videos, and he would say these strong statements like "This is fraud." And we were like that gave me like you shouldn't really say. Maybe you should say this seems to be fraud, or allegedly this is fraud, or like...
He seemed very undercautious.
This is the textbook definition of charity fraud.
You know, I'm not like a journalist, but I heard those statements. I'm like, that's really... I mean, it makes a good video, like a drama video, to just like put your fist down like, this is fraud, but like... you better have some backup for that.
And he speaks in that sing-songy newscaster way, with this kind of like brutal language. In the case of Gerard, it was like, I invite you to file a lawsuit. I'll fucking win. Fucking bitch. Fuck you. You're wrong.
And if he feels confident enough, or perhaps stupid enough to test my claims in court, I will happily oblige him.
It's very hard to defend Gerard. I have no interest in doing it. I never have had any interest in doing it. But to this day, I have a very hard time believing that it was all a grand plan to steal charity money.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I think that it was probably like insane neglect. Maybe somebody in the mix was malicious or something, maybe.
I think it's just they're all kind of dumb and they wanted to do like a charity, but they didn't really know what they were doing. And maybe there's somebody who's bad at books or bad at even running this charity, or just, because people like will put their relatives in charge of these things, and they're always like the dumb relative. Like celebrities do this all the time.
But we had these vicious 21-year-olds in our comments. They like just found the ability to grow a mustache And they've already like they got piss and vinegar and they're so fucking mad. And, oh yeah, he did it. They're so like, it was like, geez, they write you like a book about how they know for sure that Gerard did this, that, and the other. And Karl said, and Karl, I feel, fuels that machine, that kind of that drama machine.
Yeah, he's got like this righteousness to him.
The righteousness, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, he will say these things, and he's like kind of pretends to be a journalist. But if you call him out, he'll be like, "Oh, actually, I'm just an entertainer, and this is for money." It's like
this is an entertainment video. The way you're talking, have we made our point? I feel as though he's trying to have it every single way, and incredibly cocky, like inviting the legal troubles in a way. And so it may, so he put up a video in 2021 called "The Biggest Con Men in Video Game History Strikes Again," where he claimed that Billy sued Apollo Legend for $1 million. True, I think. Apollo was forced to pay a large settlement. Untrue. The financial and emotional burden contributed to Apollo's suicide. No evidence. Mitchell rejoiced at Apollo's death.
oof.
That's more or less what he was accused of.
Yeah, but yeah, Billy Mitchell in his lawsuit, he said Mitchell had required Apollo Legend to pay him a large amount of money to settle Mr. Yeah, that's not true. The major contributing factor to Apollo Legend's decision to take his own life was Mr. Mitchell's requirement that Apollo Legend pay him, which is not true. Mr. Mitchell had hounded Apollo Legend to death, not true. Mr. Mitchell was the main cause, or alternatively a cause of Apollo Legend taking his own life, not true. And Mr. Mitchell's conduct was a contributing factor in Apollo Legend taking his own life. So that was what Billy thought was wrong with that video.
Yeah, because Billy Mitchell, not only is that in the lawsuit, but he actually put out his own video, right? I've never seen it, but calling the allegations false, defamatory. And then, he sued him in Australia, which I think is really interesting because I guess it makes sense, right? If an Australian committed an Australian crime, a foreigner could sue them. Like for something like expression, doesn't it feel like it's supposed to like protect your own citizens, not protect like foreigners?
Yeah, I don't pretend to understand anything about law, so but it doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Doesn't it seem like you would design a country and a country's laws to protect your citizens, and you wouldn't necessarily be like, we have to protect like the rights of like Americans. It seems
and
odd.
Punish our citizens for doing. It does seem odd.
So Karl Jobst launched a GoFundMe titled Karl Jobst Legal Defense Fund, framed the lawsuit as an attack on the truth, and claimed it was retaliation for exposing Mitchell as a proven cheater. At no point was this Apollo Legend stuff mentioned, not whatsoever.
And he of course wouldn't say what the lawsuit was all about. Obviously, he probably thought that would be wise to not do that, but he definitely misled people into thinking it might be because of like cheating.
Well, he didn't say what it was about, but then he launched a GoFundMe and said, here, let me say it like him. He didn't say what it was about. However, he did post a GoFundMe, and he said it was an attack on the truth and claimed it was in retaliation for exposing Mitchell as a proven cheater. If you're somebody out there who watches that guy in earnestness, how do you fucking stand that voice? Do you have that on in your headphones? Like, for fun?
Everything he just said is a lie. I didn't say what he claims that I said.
Jobs took an increasingly combative stance. Now, this is my favorite part, right? Because he would continue to make videos. So he's like, the reason that I didn't say it wasn't about Apollo Legend, the reason I didn't mention it was because it could harm me in court. That's perfectly reasonable. That's perfectly fine. You're not supposed to talk about your lawsuits. But he's out there. He was making videos. And the judge, when he was reading the sentence, he started reading all this shit talk that Karl was doing.
Quote, Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. These people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson. So I am now the last chance. I am the last chance the public has to punish Billy. And also, the last person on YouTube what you want to lose to is me. You know there's going to be 100 vids rubbing it in. I will never let Billy forget this, assuming I win. I've got to win first, but man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner. End quote.
If anything, watch that judge's summary at the end, because it's actually fascinating because it's like this old judge like talking about like speedrunner and Pac-Man high scores, and you're just like, the fuck, what reality am I in right now? And it's like pretty detailed and actually it's you hope all of your judges are as knowledgeable about the subject as or at least his interns or whatever.
This poor guy had to learn about all this shit. Yeah, he started saying things like it's like highly likely he's going to lose. Yeah, and I think what he was this is the part where I think that Karl lives in his own fantasy world where he's a hero and everybody else is a villain. And I think he thought like as soon as it's obvious to the judge that Billy is not a credible person because of all the other lies, then I'll just win. But it's like, well, no, but the fucking facts of like you're being sued for saying something that wasn't true. You had a chance to retract it, I believe, at some point, and you didn't.
Yeah, the judge like said what his retraction was, but he didn't really apologize to Billy. It was at the end of an unrelated video, and it was like 45 seconds long, and he really just apologized to his audience. So there really was no like suitable retraction that anybody could actually see. So and he's the arrogance. I think it's just the arrogance of him, but the
arrogance works on the audience for like because. I saw the prevailing opinion that what I saw over and over again was like, wow, this really makes me rethink a few things. I had no idea it was about Apollo Legend. I thought for sure this was about his cheating and the speed running. And it's like, well, yeah, you should probably like, whenever you assess anything, you should be like, what am I not being told? What don't I know? That's how I still feel about the Gerard thing. Like, guaranteed. Here, I'm gonna memorialize it right here. I don't know if it's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now. Someday we're going to find out something about that Gerard situation. And it's going to make like some percentage. I've seen it now on the internet lots and lots of times where there was somebody who was fucking disgraced, facing the pavement. And then like that person put out a video a year later and they explained their side of the story just qualitatively. And then the whole audience is like, wow, I really get it now.
Yeah.
What are you, all children? I guess they are.
If somebody was suing me and we had pending litigation, I would not be putting like episode after episode of like Billy Mitchell used the red joystick and like I would not do that. I wouldn't do it.
What I would do? I'd take down the first video and I wouldn't be going to court with this. But somebody must stop Billy. Well, you and your virtue just cost you 350,000 Australian. So yeah, Keemstar was somehow part of this, despite being warned by Mitchell's lawyers, and even Keemstar, a mutual acquaintance, that the claim about Apollo paying a settlement was false. Jobst re-uploaded the full video anyway, dude.
Oh.
Re-uploaded that twice, it says, before finally editing it after confirmation from Apollo's brother. So Jobst is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He's actually a stupid person. And, so I've seen like Asmongold, Muda, they've come out and basically said what we're saying, but they seem to be friends with him or they know him or something. Yeah. So they've been tempering it. Well, he's a good person. I'm like, he's not a good person.
I watched Muda's video, which it was 20 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
And so, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, what Karl did, ladies and gentlemen, and you're just like, oh my God. And he's got like the bed head, like he just like woke up from a nap and just started recording.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. But he revealed, despite looking like he's swimming in trash, he's like, every single word that I say in every single video, a team of lawyers analyzes. I'm like, oh my God. I was waiting patiently for Muda's video because I really wanted to see. A few people predicted, they're like, he'll throw him under the bus. Because, of course, they were co-journalists together or whatever for the Gerard thing. And I was really, it was so predictable. Like, when he said it, I was like, yes, I knew you were going to say that. Or at least I hoped you were going to say that. Which was like, well, when we were both doing the Gerard videos and we were interviewing Gerard and all this, I did feel as though Karl sometimes used unnecessarily dramatic verbiage.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Yeah, he's like, and that can, hey, good lesson. It can bite you in the ass. I'm like, you didn't know that?
My usage of words regarding the completionist and anybody associated to him were, I would say, less... I guess the best way to say it is I was less dramatic almost about it, right? Like, he would use certain verbiage in his videos that I wouldn't be comfortable with.
Yeah, even when the Discord call or whatever was leaked,
a little much.
Yeah, you could tell that Muda was coming from like a friendlier position, and like Karl was in his dramatic crusader mode. So yeah.
We don't need dramatic crusaders. Look, I'll say this: the only hope he has of paying that kind of money for something like this. And the 260 probably does not include the legal fees he's already spent. The only way he has any hope of that is through sponsorships and through his channel, right? And so, well, actually, let's go to, he tweeted and he put up a few posts, so let's look at his tweets. I lost. The judge found Billy to be a credible witness and believed his entire testimony. Again, I don't know that that's the relevant detail. I think the relevant detail is you said this thing about Apollo that wasn't true, and you didn't retract it. Is that not, are these not the basic? This is very simple. From that point on, unfortunately, there was really nothing that could have saved me. Well, maybe retracting the video. Luckily, we have a crack team on our Discord that was trying their best to screenshot and download things before they went away. Because in a developing story like this, you gotta start your screenshots. So here's a big tweet. Can you stomach a big tweet? There are a lot of lies being spread that should I do it in the voice?
No, just please, God, no.
There are a lot of lies being spread that I falsely claimed Billy sued me because I said he cheated. I never claimed this. This is going straight into his video. He's going to make a shoot video about this pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And I never claimed this. He's going to get all like shitty with his audience. I only claimed it was relevant as part of my defense. And he's Australian, so he spells defense with a C. I never claimed this. I didn't openly discuss certain details for obvious reasons, but I was never trying to hide why I was being sued. In this video, I fully allowed Billy to explain why he was suing me, and I specifically state that I chose not to go into too much detail because it related to the ongoing lawsuit. Furthermore, I never asked for money when Billy originally sued me. It was only after he sent me a second lawsuit and a threat of a third lawsuit, which were completely unrelated, that I needed to crowdfund. I guess the argument is, hey, you were mad at Gerard for crowdfunding and for collecting donations under false pretenses. Aren't you doing the same? No, technically no, on a technicality. I didn't say I wasn't. Oh, true. Hey, take my money. My total legal costs are well over $600,000. Jeez, I hope it's worth it, dude. It's a lot of dough. A lot of people will never see that in their lifetimes. So any money I received went to my lawyers. I did not intentionally try to deceive anyone or trick anyone just to defraud them or scam them out of money. Yes, I'm not. Yeah. I wasn't confused about that. But the criticism that I should have been more transparent is valid, and I'm sorry. Well, is it or isn't it? Either it makes sense to not share the details of the case, or you needed to be more transparent. Which is it? Yeah. Which isn't. Truthfully, I didn't want to repeat or mention any claims regarding Apollo Legend because it may have jeopardized my defense. I never intentionally lied regarding Apollo Legend either. I relied on incorrect information from multiple sources. I retracted the statements once I confirmed it was inaccurate, but apparently it was not sufficient. At some point, of course, I will produce a video discussing everything, and I still believe the decision today was not the correct one. And he released some video, and then he, I think what happened was, I think he published a new video as the fucking thing was dropping. And he just got bombed by comments, and he took it away.
Yeah, it was I think it was either an unrelated video or just and so people were bombing it, and he took it down.
He also, in his original tweet, when he said, I will now obviously consider my options, it had said including appeal, and he went back and he removed including appeal.
His lawyer was like, please don't put that in.
Please stop talking.
Please stop talking.
His lawyer sounds like him.
It's just him.
It reminds me a little bit of I remember 2004, I was at college, and there was a presidential election between John Kerry and George W. Bush. And I remember it was Iraq War was raging on. People were rabidly anti-Bush. Everywhere you went, somebody else for president, whatever. And I remember being 18 and being like, well, obviously he's going to lose. Everybody hates him. Don't you see? And then he won. And I was like, I don't understand reality. Yeah. You live in a small reality, you see. So the people who are like, I completely bought this narrative that Karl was this virtuous freedom fighter for truth. It doesn't take anything away. Maybe the guy said a lot of truthful things. Maybe he's exposed a lot of things that are worth exposing, or maybe he has. I don't know, but it doesn't change the fact that you can't be saying that this guy killed himself because of Billy. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you wouldn't win that case in the United States.
It's hard to say, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help. And you definitely don't want to be making hit piece after hit piece of the guy who's suing you. You just don't.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I think I think he what do they say? I think he bought his own press release. I think he was high on his own supply.
Yes.
I was high on my own supply.
That's why my voice sounds like this.
Today, Raid Shadow. What does he advertise? Is it Raid Shadow Legends?
Oh, no. Raid Absolute Shadow Legends.
You Absolute Shadow Legends.
It's like one of those mobile games that look like absolute shit.
Oh, he said something it looks like he's going through it, right? So I don't want to pile on too badly. No. But he said I think he said he has cancer.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So obviously, look, that's a tough pill to swallow. I'm more trying to emphasize for perhaps the young, naive audience that just bought all this shit. Don't just have a modicum of skepticism.
Oh, and the game is War Thunder, so please click Karl Jobst' link of War Thunder. Support him.
I'm going to need it.
Please play War Thunder.
Oh, that's the final thing I want to say is like the only way he has any chance of paying this thing off is through his channel, right? Yeah. The channel is probably pretty lucrative. When it is lucrative, it's probably pretty lucrative.
And his most lucrative stuff is Billy Mitchell stuff.
So you either say nothing about the case, as we've established. You either say nothing about the case or you bring your audience in on it and let them know the details. By doing something in between, it's like you lost the case and you might have lost the audience to some degree. Mm-hmm. What about how's his Social Blade looking? Karl lost like 10,000 subscribers like each day for the last couple of days. So he's not bleeding subs, 10,000 out of however. What does he have normally?
It's a minor setback. I think Gerard could have bounced back from this too, because he could have just kept. Yeah, I know all of his. He couldn't afford the Slavs anymore, but he could have done scaled down stuff, and he could have kept going. I think.
Jason put up quite the video where he was like, "Justice for Gerard." I've been saying it since day one. I've been dick riding since the beginning.
He's smoking a fat cigar tonight. He's cracking open a good one. He's not sleeping tonight, man. The smile on Gerard's face must be so big.
And I think there's redemption for Karl too. Maybe this will be a wake up call. Maybe he'll just dunk on streamers from now on, and that'll be.
I think, I don't think he has a huge. It's not like Gerard, where it's like, how are you going to explain this one, dude? I think Karl has a reasonable explanation that he can offer, which is it's pretty simple. I think it's I couldn't tell you the details because it could have harmed my case, and I was shit talking because I have a lot of hubris and I have a lot of pride.
Yeah, and you'd have to admit that. And
I think probably I need to chill on that a little. This was an expensive way to learn.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.